Let's break down the newest shotgun, the 410 Ironhide. I hadn't done a stat guide on a shotgun yet, so this is a test run to see if my system works for them as well. And this probably does mean that I'll make a follow-up video covering anything that I may have missed, and it also means that future shotgun stat guides may be a bit different. But onto the video. As many of you know, shotguns don't really have a place in Warzone. Full auto and semi-auto shotguns work in a very niche capacity with extremely limited ranges, but pump action shotguns literally have no place. And despite it being a lever action, it is essentially the same as a pump action shotgun. So how does it compare? And more importantly, is it worth using? So in this build, we're using the Agency Choke, 22.3 inch reinforced heavy, the Ember sighting point, 7-round tube, and airborne elastic wrap. However, you can probably switch out the 7-round tube for something like a red dot sight if you want a little bit more accuracy. So let's get into the stats, starting with mobility. It has an amazing ADS time of 170 milliseconds, which beats out many SMGs. Its reload and reload add times are 5.77 from empty and 1.03 to out of one shell, which isn't really that great. But with its 7-round capacity, you hopefully won't need to be reloading that often. Its movement and sprint speeds are pretty good, but they are a bit lower than assault rifles. Its ADS strafe speed, however, is above average and better than most assault rifles and on par with many SMGs. Its sprint out and tactic sprint out times are 250 and 370 milliseconds. While this is above average, it is still not good enough when compared to SMGs. Its stability is 1T, which is really great for most weapons. Instead of its bullet velocity, I'm going to give you its range. It's 42.5 meters, and this means that up to that range, you will be getting at least a hit marker. If they go a little bit further than that, the shot won't even register a hit. And as far as I know, this is the longest range for any shotgun using standard ammunition. And lastly, its rate of fire is 1.34 rounds per second or 80.5 rounds per minute, which is pretty slow. Also, every time you pull the trigger, it will have 8 pellets coming out of the gun. But it gets a mobility score of 36. Its recoil is really interesting. If you hip fire, you can hit a target up to 8.5 meters. You may be missing a few pellets, but for the most part, you'll be hitting most of them. But if you aim down your sights, your spread becomes extremely tight and you can suddenly hit targets as far as the gun will actually allow you to register a hit. So it basically can shoot up to 42.5 meters, and that is where its strength is. So it gets a recoil score of 31. And lastly, for its damage. In an ideal situation, I would have loved to get the individual damage per pellet and tell you the damage values that way. But because private matches and in turn practice matches are currently not in the game thanks to some serious bugs, I can't do that. So I can only tell you TTK values, not individual damage values. This also means I can't accurately find the damage drop-off point, but it doesn't really matter that much. What I can tell you is, despite its amazing recoil and actual stability, you will not be using this past 20 meters. Where I do believe there is a damage drop off around that point anyways. If you manage to get many of the pellets onto the head, you can suddenly get a 2-shot kill. And this does mean a 746 millisecond TTK. And this wouldn't be bad past 30 meters, except you probably won't be able to do this. The problem is that 746 milliseconds is really slow, and many weapons, including assault rifles that are a bit on the slow side, will be able to kill you. It just takes way too long to rechamber another shell. On several occasions, at point blank range, I've been able to hit a headshot and get a 1-hit kill, but again, because I can't know the individual damage values, I can tell you if they just had less plates, or maybe if you get all the pellets onto the head, it could be a 1-shot kill. But moving on to 3 shots, it's suddenly 1.5 seconds, which is extremely bad, especially for something under 20 meters. And around 20 meters, I've sometimes had to get a 4-shot kill, and that takes 2.23 seconds, which is just ridiculous. You're better off using literally any other weapon at this point because it's just not worth it. So it gets a damage score of 20. And when we add up all the categories, it gets a final score of 87. A few of you may know that this is half a point under the Psychov, but the Psychov is actually useful in its first damage range. I can't think of a single situation where the 410 Ironhide could be useful. It's a pump action shotgun, and they just don't have a place in Warzone. I've tried firing a shot, hiding behind cover, and trying to take another shot coming out of cover, but it's pretty much usable only in 20 meters and you get rushed and destroyed before you can even do that. If it was a secondary weapon, I could maybe see an argument for it. But even then, I would never take this over an amp. And since it takes a primary weapon slot, I just can never recommend it. If you want a longer range shotgun, you may as well just be using slug rounds on something else. At least that way you can get a little bit longer range. Or maybe if you want the same feel and want iron sights, why not try the Swiss with them? Its stats are very similar, but the difference is you can actually guarantee a one-shot kill if you ambush someone. Seriously, if you want to ambush someone with a 410, you're better off just executing them. That way you can at least guarantee a kill. If you shoot them, they're just going to turn around and shoot you or just beat you down before you can even finish loading that next shell. So yeah, I honestly can't recommend the Ironhide, and while it may look cool and you think you want to use it, you really don't. You'll only get frustrated by trying to use it, so just don't try it and save yourself the effort. So that's the Ironhide. Have you tried it yet? And if so, what'd you think about it? And as always, if there's any weapon build part of the game you want to break down, let me know and you may see it on the next Community Wednesday. But that's the video. If you enjoyed it or it's helped you in any way, let me know by leaving a like. If you got any questions or comments, leave them down in the comment section down below, and if you want to make sure that you never miss another video, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.